Hi, we're talking about the Human Microbiome Project and how it has changed our understanding of our normal biota. So, first things first, what is a microbiome? It's trillions of microorganisms that are all over your body, and there's a little image of this guy covered in tiny little microorganisms. All we have good ones, bad ones, they're all there. It's our first defense against any diseases and all kinds of sicknesses. So we have to break this down. So there was a 10-year study that they did to find out exactly what was going on with all these microorganisms and how it affected our health and all of our diseases. So what is our normal biota? That is basically your status quo of all your microorganisms. What you have and how and keeping your body nice and healthy. So that's like status quo is your normal biota. So now we have Rob Knight and he's talking about his studies. He was involved in the 10-year. Sorry, it's quite slow.
We're talking with Rob Knight. Rob is a professor in chemistry and biochemistry and also in computer sciences at the University of Colorado. Rob, you're one of the gurus of the Microbiome Project, and we've learned so many new and different exciting things from that project. What are some of the real key surprises?
I think one of the key surprises is how different we are from one another microbially. So, as you know, we're all essentially the same in terms of our human genome, 99.9+% identical. Whereas in terms of the microbes that we carry on our hands, in our guts, and on and inside different parts of our body, we're often 80 or 90% different. So it's just fascinating how much variation there is. And then one of the key questions is, does all that variation matter? Or does all that variation not matter? Is it different because it actually makes a difference to health? Or is it different because it can just vary randomly? Another fascinating thing is that it does not...
So basically what he just said there is our microbiome makes it so we can have one family full of the same people, a mother, father, children, everything, and one will get sick and one won't because your microbiome is different. How amazing is that?
Seem to be a core of microbes that we all share, but rather any microbe that you find as being abundant in one person, you'll find some other person who completely lacks it, or at least has it at such a low level that we can't detect with the techniques that we usually use. So again, it doesn't seem like we're all colonized in the gut, at least, with the same stuff. You see very different species assemblages in different people. The third thing that I think is fascinating is the links that are starting to come up between microbes in the gut and the brain. So there's been some very interesting research recently on probiotics and anxiety in mice. There was also some work we did with Andrew Gewitz's group a couple of years ago, looking at how you can have a genetic mutation in the mouse that triggers a change in the microbial community that makes that mouse obese. But the way it does it isn't by making it more efficient at metabolizing what it's eating. What it does instead is it makes the mouse hungrier, right? So it becomes obese because it eats more. And you can cure it. You can cure it with antibiotics. You can also take those microbes and stick them in a completely genetically normal mouse with no microbes of its own, and that other mouse will also eat more and will also become obese. So,
That's incredible. Now I have to figure out how to work my diet into that.
That's completely a behavioral thing. So I think one thing that's fascinating is just all of these connections where microbes may be doing things that we never suspected.
Yeah, there's more of them on us than human cells, and they do more things than we could have ever imagined. So one of the kind of grand goals that was often spoken of with the Microbiome Project is that, in fact, we would be able to develop probiotics that would influence a lot of these different aspects. But when we're so different, is that a realistic concept?
Well, that's a great question. So there are some kinds of therapies that have been extraordinarily effective, like stool transplants, for example, where you have people with Clostridium difficile that's so severe that it's resisted antibiotic therapies even for a couple of years, and yet the cure rate, just taking a stool sample, making a smoothie out of it, or going in the other route as well, sometimes, and then transplanting a normal microbiota has been enormously successful, so 90 to 95% cure rates. So there are some kinds of things where it seems like these ecosystem.
That's pretty incredible that he's saying right there that somebody with C. diff is now being given human microbiomes that are healthy, and it's curing the C. diff better than any medical antibiotic that you could come up with. That's pretty amazing.
Therapies are extremely plausible and extremely robust. So there's three things that we need to know in order to do therapies based on the microbiome, right? We need to know what a good community looks like. We need to know what a bad community looks like, and we need to know how to get from the bad community to the good community. And until recently, we haven't known any of those things, and now we know one of them, right? We know what a good community looks like, and so being able to figure out not just what the bad community looks like, but also how to get to the right place from there, I think is going to be really critical.
So you're from New Zealand, and New Zealand was one of the places that was so plagued by invasive species, where somebody said, I'm going to bring this species in because it's going to do something good for the environment, and in the end, it was horrible, right? And the worry with modulating the microbial flora is that, in fact, maybe we don't know enough to be able to avoid those kinds of problems.
Yeah, it's something I worry about a lot, and developing the kind of sound ecological theory that allows us to predict what will happen when you introduce a microbe into a particular environment. I think we have a much better chance of doing that with microbes than was ever the case for macroorganisms, because they're so small that you can do enough replicate experiments to really figure out if you can predict what will happen when you introduce a particular microbial member into a community.
So one of the sayings people use commonly is you can't see the...
So next, we're going to go on to why it's such this new thing. So basically, up until now, people didn't realize that there was so many microorganisms and there was such a microbiome, because we were under the impression that you could grow it in the lab. And so the issue that was up until now was basically, if you could grow it in a lab, it existed. But now these are saying, well, they still exist, but we just can't grow them in a lab. So the moral of the story is there's so many more than we thought that were even there that are now showing up. And our digestion, we also need these for digestion, because in order for us to eat food, we have to break down food, and it has to be, and these turned into enzymes. So here's another little video we got here from, I think this one's from the Mayo Clinic.
Our bodies are home to around 100 trillion microbes, mostly bacteria, inside and out. They outnumber our cells 10 to 1. This is the microbiome, and we couldn't live without it. There are diverse, complex communities of microbes in the intestines, in the mouth, on the skin, and elsewhere, living in a delicate balance with our bodies. Mayo Clinic is seeking to understand how the microbiome promotes wellness and enables disease, and how that knowledge can change the practice of medicine. For example, we know the microbiome interacts with cells in the lining of our intestines, helping them to absorb nutrients and energy, strengthening our immune system, and more. When this healthy community gets tipped out of balance, certain types of bacteria can grow out of control, causing illness. Until recently, the standard medical approach was to give antibiotics to kill the problem bacteria. But now we know that destroying bacteria further disrupts the balance in the microbiome, sometimes causing more serious problems. For example, one type of bacteria can cause a colon infection when the microbiome has been disrupted. Uncontrolled, it can cause severe tissue damage and death. Scientists at Mayo Clinic are...
So what he was talking about was C. diff. Basically is if you're on long-term antibiotics or something like that, then your body, it wipes out your microbiome. So your antibiotics directly involve your microbiome.
Finding new ways to keep the microbiome healthy. repair it, and use its powers to prevent and treat disease. Currently, researchers are studying the use of probiotics, beneficial microbes to treat problems in the gastrointestinal system. And Mayo physicians have actually cured certain gastrointestinal infections by transplanting a healthy microbiome from one person to another. Mayo researchers are also exploring the genetic code of the microbiome. Each microbiome has its own DNA, entirely different from the body's DNA. Techniques reveal which bacteria are present and help identify genetic markers linked to specific diseases. Mayo scientists are also using the latest techniques to capture highly valuable data about the microbiome genome and the metabolites they produce. This new information allows physicians to make early diagnoses and design new and more effective therapies, including preventive therapies. Researchers at Mayo Clinic are studying the microbiome in a completely new way and just beginning to understand how the genes of the microbiome can affect reproductive health, cancer development, and neurologic disorders. Find out how you can help.
So basically, they're everywhere and everybody has them. Everybody has all the good ones, everybody has all the bad ones. So like as the videos were saying, if you're on antibiotics or if you're sick or in some way, shape, or form, your microbiome, your good microbiomes are under attack from the bad microbiome. So balance is very, very key to all of this, is they have to be balanced. If one gets out of control, then the other one takes over. It's always a battle. So basically they involve everything. Everything from your cardiovascular health to it can be involved with everything as simple as asthma, diabetes, heart disease, Crohn's, obesity, autism, GERD, IBS, and even your moods can be affected if your microbiome is out of whack. And there's another little video. This guy was amazing. He inspired.
A dozen or so years ago, they published the sequence of the human genome, and those of us who are microbiologists were saying, they only got just a really small smidge of the human body, the human genome, and that the rest of it is the human microbiome, which is a collection of organisms that outnumbers the human cells by 100 to 1. We like to think of it as a community, and that there are these communities of bacteria all over the human body. So, our skin, our mouth, our gut are all covered in bacteria, and instead of being grossed out by this, people need to be excited about that, because these are the organisms that keep us healthy. So the Human Microbiome Project goal was to characterize the composition and function of the bacteria that live on and in the human body, and then to understand how changes in that community of bacteria affects human health. The main part of the project was to sample 300 people, 150 people from Houston and 150 people from St. Louis, at 2 or 3 times over the course of 2 years, and they sampled them at 18 different parts of their body. And so the analysis was really, to some extent, crowdsourced to the scientific community to analyze. One of the really cool things about the microbiome in this study was that these people were very healthy, but they were all very different from each other. And so one of the cool things about the human microbiome is the community that you have really on any body site is your community. And that we think it's kind of the sum total of your genetics, your diet, your behaviors, how you were born, how you were fed as an infant, and that will stay with you forever. And to the point where
what he was saying about how you were born, basically if you're born vaginally or if you're born by C-section determines what microbiomes are on you at birth. So, and also breast milk. Breast milk is another one that has full of microorganisms that are for healthy people. So again, it's like he was saying, how you are born actually can determine what microbiomes you have for your whole life.
Community is more like I will be 10 years from now than I will ever be like anybody else. And so in many ways, it really is a fingerprint. There's a European consortium called MetaHit that a couple years ago published a paper looking at the gut communities. And so what I thought was, well, The MetaHit study studied just the gut, and we had these 18 body sites. So I wanted to know is if we looked at the types of bacteria across these 18 body sites, do we see different types across the body? Are they similar to each other across the body? And then can I explain why I might be gut community type A and you might be gut community type B? And so this ability to categorize people into different community types for any body site, I think it's going to be a very powerful tool for understanding health and disease. And again, this is kind of one of the first steps in moving down that path. Previous work had shown that the bacteria in our mouth are very different than the bacteria in our gut. And so one of the things we found by assigning people's communities to these community types was that even though the communities and the types of bacteria are very different, the type of bacteria you have in your mouth can predict the type of bacteria you have in your gut. And so to me, this is exciting because it suggests that, if we want to manipulate the gut, perhaps we can manipulate the mouth. And that there's some data coming from various other labs unrelated to this project, finding in people with colon cancer high levels of bacteria that are known to be pathogenic and common in periodontal disease. And so if we better understood how those bacteria get to the gut, or again, how we can manipulate the mouth to manipulate the gut, that might...
Wouldn't that be amazing? Brush your teeth and don't get colon cancer? That would be absolutely amazing.
Be pretty cool too. One of the ways that this study has helped advance the field of microbiome research is this idea that the bacterial communities that are found across the human body can be associated with each other. Again, the mouth being connected to the gut or your left and right arm, and that we can relate those to kind of your life history. And then going forward, what my lab is interested in, and
What he was saying, the left and right arm, is you can have a different microbiome colony on your right hand versus your left hand, because your right hand is dominant or your left hand is dominant. So you're going to use it more. So you're going to have different colonies growing on your different parts of your body, even just from your right and left hand.
others at the University of Michigan and others around the world, are there certain community types at different body sites that we can relate to health? One of the great things about where we're at the University of Michigan is that there's a real big push now to study the human microbiome. And so within the School of Medicine, we have the Host Microbiome Initiative, where there's a large number of faculty, 50 or so, interested in the role of bacteria in maintaining health. It's a really exciting time to be at the University of Michigan because we've got a lot going on and there's a lot of excitement in this area of research, both within the biomedical world as well as across campus.
So what he was also saying too about this new push too is because we are getting more and more diseases and more sicknesses that are now becoming resistant to antibiotics. So that is where this is coming into play, is because now the medical community is also battling, trying to keep people healthy. This is only the beginning, like he was saying. We've hit the top of the iceberg on this one. He was explaining how there's so many more different possibilities of how to make the human microbiome make us healthier and keep our normal biota healthy. Like we were talking earlier, C. diff, Clostridium difficile, C. diff. Basically, this is a very common disease or an issue when people are in the hospital and they're hit with multiple different types of antibiotics, broad spectrum or long term. And then, like we were showing in one of the videos earlier, it wipes out all of the microbiome, good and bad. And so usually when you wipe out all of it, good and bad, the only ones left seem to be the bad ones. And then they kind of keep growing. So then your body is open for this Clostridium, the C. diff, to start just growing and growing and growing. And it is not fun. C. diff is kind of a messy, smelly problem. Oh, there's just a little picture there. I just thought it was kind of neat because I didn't realize the GI tract surface is as big as 2 tennis courts. I did not know that. And like we were saying about the body microbes are 10 to 1 for your human cells. So there's 10 of them and only 1 of your human cells. And if you laid end to end out your body's bacteria, it would circle the earth 2.5 times. I just thought that was kind of cool. Okay, so now we have some questions here. Does the balance of your microorganisms affect your health? Is it true or is it false? And yes, it's very true. Your microbiome is directly affected to your health. It is the basis as to whether or not you are healthy or not. And the next question, can antibiotics cause dyssymbiosis? So, dyssymbiosis, let's see if it's true or false. It's true. Dyssymbiosis is like what we were talking about earlier when we said C. diff. It's basically when there's an imbalance. So when you start upsetting the apple cart and you end up with more negative and less positive helpful, you need more. This is what you want. You want to keep them at bay, because the minute dyssymbiosis happens, that's when all things start getting all screwed up, because your body can't fight off any diseases and stuff. So you want to try to avoid this. And is your Clostridium, is your C. diff always in the gut? That's true. It is. It's always there. But like we were saying earlier, balance is the key. You always want to make sure that you're equal balance. So your body's naturally fighting it off. But if you take those antibiotics long term and everything else, then you wipe out all the good ones. And then that's when C. diff happens, because they take over. Can we always use the 5 eyes to determine what microorganism is present? No, you cannot. Because remember what we were saying earlier? We said that if it grew in the lab, then it existed. And now we're finding out that there's so many more things that they cannot grow in a lab. So there's a lot more to it than just the 5 eyes of determining what you got going on. So we're going to just have a little review here. Is your microbiome health important? Yes, it's very important. It is the key to remaining healthy. Has our understanding of the microbiome changed recently? Drastically. They've done that huge study over 10 years, and they've come up with that there's so many more than they even dreamed they even had. And all are bacteria bad? No, all our bacteria are not all bad. You need the good and the bad. And you have to have them balanced. Remember, balance is the key there. And would we survive without it? And the answer is no. No, we need all of those good bacteria. We need all those the microbiomes. We need all of them in there fighting for us. Because if we started running out of microbiomes, then we're sick all the time. So we need them. We would not be able to survive without it. And here's my sources. And that's all of it.